Hey guys, it's Michelle Caruana from Climbing Vines and Play Cafe Academy, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. We are going to do a little story time because I've been listening to your feedback, and something that you guys have really been asking for are more personal videos and more behind the scenes videos, really showing you guys what it's like to own an indoor play space, whether you guys are customers of indoor play spaces or you're a prospective owner of an indoor play space, or if you're just curious about what life is like and how the space gets up and running every single day. I'm going to share it all with you, and this was a good video to start with, I think. And I just want to preface this by saying this video is not meant to put anyone on blast, and I'm not going to give all these juicy, gory details about this big fight or incident that happened. The intention of this video is, if you are a customer of an indoor play space, it's really to let you in on how we came to this decision, the factors that we looked at, and how we presented the news to the customer. Because again, if you are a customer of an indoor play space, I want to make sure you know what we struggle with as owners and what really flags customers to us and brings to our attention that, something might have to change. This space might not be right for this family. And if you are an indoor play space owner, or if you're a prospective owner, I want this video to really prepare you if this situation ever happens to you, because while this is the only customer that we've ever actually banned, we've come pretty close several other times. So we go through a series of steps that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to let you in on why exactly we came to this decision and why we actually took the step to fire or ban this customer, and why we didn't ban or fire the other customers that we considered. So first, what do I mean by firing a customer? So by firing a customer, I mean we revoked their membership. So this particular family had an unlimited membership with us, meaning that they could come anytime during open play an unlimited amount of times. And we actually had to change our policy because of this family, because this woman actually was coming. It was mainly the mom that came, which is why I'm going to refer to the mom mostly. But she would come twice a day, every single day. So typically we're open 9 to 4. So this woman was coming right at 9. Usually coming a little bit before 9, staying a couple hours, going home for a nap. Her child was just under 2 at the time, and then coming back for a couple hours in the afternoon, and usually staying past close. We were constantly having to ask her to leave because it was 15 minutes past closing. But that's not one of the reasons we banned her. There is a list of reasons. But anyways, so this was an unlimited customer, so this whole thing just got magnified because of the frequency of her visits. So I just want to preface it with that. So at our indoor playground, Climbing Vines, we are big sticklers on rules, and our philosophy is that if we make rules and we put them out there for the customers, we have to enforce them. It is our job to make sure that they are black and white and there is no gray area, because a couple things that I have learned is that, number one, if somebody breaks a rule and you look the other way or you allow it, they are just going to keep pushing, and they are going to break another rule and then another rule and then another rule. And then other people are going to catch on that, oh, nobody at Climbing Vines enforces the rules. You can bring in, outside coffee. Your older child can go in the baby area. You can bring in peanuts. You can bring snacks into the play area. Those are all examples of rules that we have that people were breaking a lot in the beginning when we were a little bit more lax about them, but now we are very strict. And this was a perfect example of somebody breaking a rule and us kind of just looking the other way, and it just got worse and worse and worse over time. So again, we work very hard now to enforce our rules, and one of the reasons that I did want to share this story again is because we learned so much as a business, as a team from this, and let me tell you, it will never get to this extent ever again. So I have my notes here just in case you see me looking. Normally my videos are a little bit more scripted, but I'm kind of on the fly, but I did write down a couple bullets that I wanted to address. All right, so typically if somebody is not abiding by the rules, we have a 3 strikes you're out policy. So for example, if somebody lets their 3 or 4-year-old in our 18-month and younger area, which is actually right behind me, then we walk over and we say, oh, I'm so sorry, that area is for 18 months and younger. I mean, there's clear signs, but sometimes parents just need to be reminded. Fine. Usually they don't give, any attitude or, anything like that. They just say, oh, so sorry, and they take their child and they move them back into the main play area. Normally, if it happens multiple times, and if this customer keeps letting their child in, or if the child goes in by themselves and the parents aren't really monitoring, or they're not asking the child to leave, then we will start saying, maybe you guys need to come back another day. and we eventually will ask them to leave. Now, we've only had to do this a couple times, but that is definitely one of the rules that gets broken the most, because a lot of times, if your child is throwing a tantrum, a lot of parents will think it's just easier to go ahead and let them in the baby area, especially if there's no babies. And that's a whole nother video, parenting philosophy, for another day. I'm not going to get into that, but this was one of the big rules that this particular customer was breaking. And not only was this customer repeatedly every single day breaking this rule, but she was actually lying about her child's age. So when we have somebody sign up for a unlimited membership, or really any membership, we have them fill out an emergency contact waiver, and that includes the child's birthday. And so we knew that this child was over 18 months old. However, this mother was repeatedly telling us that this child was under 18 months old. And I confronted her with the date and the information, and then she kind of folded and said, well, he's small, or he's not hurting anybody. But in fact, we were actually receiving a couple complaints every single day that not only was his child rough, but the mom was not really attentive. She was constantly on her phone. She was not looking at what her child was doing. So it just really brought down the experience for all of our other customers. And again, because this customer was coming twice a day, it really amplified how much this rule breaking affected everybody, because it's not like it was just one time this customer, came in from out of town and broke a bunch of rules and then left. We never saw them again. This customer was here probably 65 to 70% of the day, every single day. So we repeatedly had to ask her to stop. A couple times we had to ask her to leave. But, it's one thing if the child is a little bit over 18 months and they're playing nicely and they're being really respectful. But again, this child, because of the age, between 18 months and 2 years old, I can't really recall. But it's not really the child's behavior that we had an issue with, because, toddlers hit, they throw, they bite even, they scratch. That's the child's behavior is 100% not the issue here. The issue is the parent's behavior, and the parent in this particular case was, again, constantly on her phone, not watching her child, usually sitting out of view of her child. So we have a couple different couches. We have a quiet corner. If you go to our website and look at our pictures, and she would kind of hang out there and, again, be on her phone and not really look at what her child was doing. So we were getting constant complaints. It even got to the point where children were getting bruises and scratches, and they were sending me these pictures and videos of this child just taking wooden toys and hitting other much, much younger babies with it, and the mom just being nowhere to be found. So this was when we started really considering, taking a step further and not just asking her to leave for the day, but actually banning them for life. So again, we were constantly giving verbal warnings, constantly asking the mom to adjust the child's behavior, because again, it is very expected to have a toddler that doesn't share, that hits, that throws. But what we look for is for the parent to step in and work to correct that behavior. And now, of course, it's not going to correct itself overnight, but as long as the mom is making sure that that child is not hurting anybody, and we can see that they're making an effort to kind of correct that behavior and make sure that, nobody's getting hurt, nobody's in danger, then that's okay. We kind of let that play out. And that's a part of learning. That's a part of growing up. But this particular parent, again, was not attentive. And when she would come over, she would scream, yell. We have her on video several different times spanking her child in the middle of the play area. And people were just getting really uncomfortable. So that is one of the big reasons. Another reason is this particular person. Now, we're not a nut-free facility. However, we are nut aware, meaning that there could be technically traces of nuts in some of our food, but we don't offer anything that has nuts in it. We don't allow any food with nuts, and it's kind of a gray area, but we do have very strict policy that you cannot bring in anything with nuts. Again, traces of nuts, okay, and we make sure that we have any families that have allergies are aware of that. But this particular mom would always bring in a bag of almonds. And we redirected her to the website several different times. We redirected her to the waiver that she signed, stating that she would not bring any nuts into the facility. We asked her several times to not bring them, and she would keep bringing them in every single time. And again, this is twice a day. And not only was she bringing them in her bag, but she was actually walking around our play area eating them. And this is when we really started to take things seriously, because this is putting, if we're telling parents, there's no actual nuts in our facility, that's a promise that we're making to them. And if somebody is literally walking around the play area, eating an almond and then touching everything, that's going to be a really big problem for me as an owner, and it's going to be a big problem for our customers. So that's when we really started to take things really seriously, when we noticed that even after giving warnings and even after begging and pleading her to not bring in these almonds, she was still doing it every single day. She was getting a little bit better at hiding it, but she was still doing it every single day. So those were the two big things that we looked at. Now, the third big thing that we looked at is that one day, and this was kind of the last straw, one day she brought her child in, and she kind of just, first of all, she never checked in. She would literally just walk by the front desk and walk into the play area, and we would have to go get her, and we would say, okay, I understand that you have an unlimited membership, but because of our waiver and because of our legal situation, we have to have you check in every single time. And she just, every single day, we would have to go pull her out of the play area, have her check in. So these little things too with the rules, just not respecting our policies, not respecting our customer flow, anything like that, and really just completely disrespecting our staff, that was also a big issue. So one day, she just walked in, breezed right past the checkout, went into the play area, and I happened to be helping another customer. So after a few minutes, probably like 5 or 10 minutes, I went and asked her to check in. And she gave me the eye roll, she gave me tons of attitude, and then I noticed that her child, and actually she brought up to me, she said, oh, do you think, let's call him George, do you think George's rash is contagious? And all of a sudden I look at her child, and her child is absolutely covered head to toe in like a scaly, scabby rash. And this child has been coming twice a day for almost 8 months at this point. And to my knowledge, she did not have eczema or any skin condition or anything like that. She said it was the first time it had ever happened. And again, it was like almost pussing. And she said, we're going to the doctor right after this. I called and made an appointment, but do you think it's contagious? And of course, my kids are, playing in the same play area. I was like, yes, I absolutely think it's contagious. And as a matter of fact, our sick policy is right on the wall. If your child is not well, you need to take them to the doctor before you can visit our facility. And again, because we're a public facility, there's a little bit of a gray area, but this child was visibly broken out in a rash. And that's, the third instance that she had put other customers in danger. And so we asked her to leave. I got my kids in the car because I didn't want to have the conversation in front of them. And this is one of those things as an owner, you have to have really uncomfortable conversations. And this woman is a little bit erratic, to put it lightly. So I didn't want my kids around just in case. So what I did was I had our manager, who happened to be there at the time, I could have had her handle it, but I really wanted to handle it myself because this was just way over the line. And this was probably the 50th time that we've had to warn her, combined with the baby area, combined with the throwing and tantrums, combined with the almonds, all that stuff, the baby area, combined with all of those things, I had just had it. So I had my manager sit in my car with my kids, and I came back in and I said, you need to go to the doctor, go to your doctor appointment, and in the future, you may not come if your child is visibly or audibly ill. It says it on our waiver, which I showed her, it says it on the wall. And customers at this point were getting really upset. They noticed that her child was visibly very ill, and so that's when I really started to get upset. Not angry with her, but just really upset with myself that, I had let it get to this point. And that's one of those things, as an owner, you have to really find a line between your best customers and customers that are constantly going to be sources of stress for both you and other customers. And at the time, I, was thinking, leading up to this, I was like, this is one of our best customers. She's in here all the time, twice a day, every day. She, pays us X dollars a month. But I have to tell you, and we're gonna get to this in a second, but it was not worth it. Our best customers now are not defined by the amount of money that they spend or the amount of time that they spend here. Our best customers are now defined as people that love and respect our space, that are kind to others, that are kind to other customers and also our staff, that treat our space with respect, and that are just generally a good fit for our space. And this customer, we were kind of looking at it as a business thing, because she spent a lot of money here. I thought that she, whatever. I considered her a best customer, and now looking back, I realize how wrong I was and how much of a disservice I did to my other best customers, who I now consider best customers, at the time. So this was when I was really starting to get upset. So I asked her to leave. I brought our manager and my kids back in. We literally shut down and sanitized the entire building. It was not the entire building, the entire play area, everything that they touched. And I really sat down with our manager and I started to go through, okay, something needs to change. We cannot let this person keep ruining our space, making other people uncomfortable because she was spanking her child in the middle of our play area. And I'm not one to step in and make parenting decisions or judge parents, but it was really starting to make people uncomfortable, and people were constantly complaining about it. So while I try to be more hands-off and we don't discipline kids, I don't judge other parents, but when it starts to really affect everybody, and again, this woman was coming twice a day, every single day, that's when I kind of start to I have to think about it. So this is what our manager and I came up with. And these are the factors that we used to decide, in fact, that we should ban this person. So the first factor that we looked at was frequency of visits. So this box was definitely checked. So if we have a problem customer, but they only come once every several months, we don't spend too much time or energy on it, because again, they're not affecting that many people. Yes, we'll ask them to leave if they put any guests in danger or if they keep breaking rules, but again, we also don't go out of our way to completely ban them. So frequency of visits, does this customer come enough where it's a problem for enough other customers where we really need to step in and address it? So check. The degree to which they took warning seriously. So this customer definitely did not take warning seriously, constantly disrespected our staff. We actually had several staff members threaten to leave at one point because this customer was so rude to them. And just a quick side note, this customer had an unlimited coffee membership as well. So we have these Climbing Vines reusable mugs, and because we like to be environmentally cautious, or conscious, we let people that are unlimited members have free coffee every single visit if they bring their mug. And so this customer was having 2 large coffees every single day, and then she would also give her husband the mug, who would just literally park in front of our door, walk in, get coffee, not even bring the child in, and then leave. It got to the point where she was doing this. She was literally just parking her car out front, bringing her mug in during a private birthday party, taking the coffee that this family had purchased. And you know what? We try to monitor everything, but during private parties, sometimes we can't necessarily see who's with the party and who's not. And we don't look at every single guest that walks in the door. So this woman would sneak in, get coffee that this family had paid for with her mug while we are not open for open play, and just leave. And I had asked her to stop doing it several times. And so again, she did not take warning seriously, did not respect our staff, did not respect our space. I swear this is the last thing, but I'm really getting fired up now. Another thing that she did was, we have a large retail section of books for sale, and then we have a section of reading books, and they are completely separate. They couldn't be farther away from each other, and they are very clearly labeled. She would constantly take retail books out that had like flaps or coloring sections and let her child color on them and basically rip all the flaps out. We lost hundreds of dollars in inventory because, again, this woman is coming twice a day, every single day. We lost hundreds of dollars of inventory because while we were preparing snacks or cleaning the play area, she would let her child just destroy these books. And again, several warnings were given. We let her know where the retail section was, where the reading section was, and she was just constantly not listening to us. So again, looking back, it sounds ridiculous that we didn't ban her sooner, but it's one of those things where hindsight is 20/20. At the time, it was a very difficult decision. Again, she was also erratic, so I was a little bit nervous, but anyway, so I'm gonna keep going down the list of factors. Okay, so how they treated our customers is a factor that we look at. And again, like I said, this woman was very disrespectful of other customers, very confrontational. Very confrontational if somebody brought her child's behavior up to her. Not confrontational in that if she noticed an issue, she would step in. If she would kind of, again, have her head buried in her phone the entire time. So she was only confrontational if somebody brought her child's behavior up to her, whether it be another customer or a staff member. The next factor that we looked at is how she treated our space, which I'm not gonna beat it with a dead horse. She did not respect our space at all whatsoever. How they treat our staff. Again, did not respect our staff. We had several staff members threaten to quit, including our manager, and just every time she walked in the door, we would literally look for her car, and every time she pulled in, not only our staff, but also all the customers that were in here would kind of moan and groan, and you could feel the morale drop. It was actually kind of ridiculous. So check. How they treated their child. And this one is, again, I don't like to judge other parents. I don't like to, assume that I know everything about their situation, but when it makes other people very uncomfortable, and when it gets loud enough, when it gets physical enough, where, again, this person's spanking or parenting, I shouldn't say spanking. I only saw her spank her child once, but she did a lot of slapping on the hands, which, again, I'm not here to judge, but it obviously wasn't working, because that's what she would do every single time, and the child's behavior was getting progressively worse every single visit. So that was a factor that we looked at. Another factor that we look at is how the child treated others. So this particular child was probably too young. He was under 2 years old. So again, I want to reiterate that the reason that we banned this particular family had nothing to do with the child's behavior, and everything to do with how the parents reacted to the child's behavior. When they stepped in, they were physical and they yelled. They didn't really do anything to correct the behavior other than that, and we weren't seeing any improvement after 8 months. So check. The child was not treating others with respect, and we were showing no improvement. In fact, it was getting much, much worse. And we actually had several customers, I shouldn't say several, we had 2 customers send us videos of injuries that their child sustained as a direct result of this child. And I should mention that we have cameras everywhere, and I was able to watch this on camera. So I was not discriminating against this family. I did not take other customers' words above theirs. I actually got to see the video footage with my own 2 eyes, so I know what happened. Another thing that we look at is how they considered our policies. So again, did not consider our policies, brought the child in sick, brought almonds in constantly, always staying past open, always staying past close, really abusing the free coffee thing. It was just, it really piled up. So after considering all of this, I'm just checking my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. We came together as a team, and we finally decided to say no more. Again, because it had been 8 long months of this, guys, 8 long months. And it caused a severe enough disruption with our customers, and we had gotten enough complaints, and we had gotten pretty much no response from this particular parent. So we just decided to kind of move on and part ways. And again, I'm sure this is a very lovely family, a very lovely child, but not every space is right for every family. So again, I'm not passing judgment, but our space was definitely not right. Maybe our policies just didn't fit their lifestyle or their parenting styles, but that's okay. So we just decided to part ways and say no more. So what we did is I, the owner, personally reached out. So I wanted to call them, but having seen her behavior in the past, I emailed her instead, and I explained the entire situation. I asked her to come in person with her husband if she chose, because he had been familiar with the space as well. And I asked him to review the video footage with me, because that was after there was an incident where she had gotten physical with a child, and another child had actually gotten injured that same day. And that's when she reacted and got physical with her child. So I really just wanted to present her with the video footage and kind of just ask her what her plan is moving forward. So I wasn't, at this time, I hadn't decided black and white that we were going to fire them as a family forever, but what I said was, I want to have a meeting with you, I want to watch the video with you, and I want to understand, if this happens again, how are you going to react? How are you going to work to correct this behavior? Can I trust that you're not going to be on your phone on the other end of the room? How can we work through this together? And basically they chose not to take the meeting. At first she was very, very defensive and said that it never happened and that we were lying, the customer was a liar. And then as soon as I presented with the video footage, that was pretty much it. She said, we're not going to come back. We're not going to take the meeting. Thank you, but no thanks. She actually didn't reply, her husband replied, but anyways. They chose not to take the meeting after I mentioned that I did have the video footage and that I wanted to review it with them. And honestly, since staff morale is up, customer morale is up, I actually reached out to every single customer that had complained in the past, because I noticed that our regular customers, who again I now know are our best customers, I noticed that they stopped coming. I noticed that they were posting in social media groups that, I love this space, but there's that one customer who just cannot watch her kid, who just is always, scrolling her phone, whatever the case. So I noticed that. So I reached out to every single person that had complained and said, we made this decision. I didn't give away any personal information or reasons why. I just said, I'd love to invite you to come back and play. And they all did. And now staff morale is up, guest morale is up. And just to wrap up this video, the lessons that I learned from this. So again, number one, not every family is right for every space. Again, this is probably a very lovely family, a very lovely mom, a very lovely child, but because we are very strict about our policies, and because we do not allow older children in the baby area, because we do not allow snacks in the play area, because we do not allow nuts. We're a pretty strict facility, and just based on the parenting style of this particular family, we just weren't a good fit, and that is okay. That does not mean that we are right. That does not mean they are wrong. It just means that there is a disconnect, and we just can't serve them and our regular customer base at the same time successfully. So again, this video is not meant to put anybody down. It's just meant to say that not every space is right for every family. The other lesson that I learned is that rule breakers will continue to push if you let them. So again, if you let people break one rule, they will break another rule. If you let someone break a rule one day, they will break the same rule another day. So just put your stake in the ground, make it black and white if that's what you choose to do, but be consistent. Be consistent with every single customer, every single day, every single time. And that will not only make your job easier, because people won't have to guess if you're going to enforce the rules that day, or if you're going to enforce the rules with this customer but not the other customer. It is just black and white, and that is a reputation that you will get, and that is a good thing. You want the reputation that you are a facility that enforces your rules, that has rules that make sense, and are kind to your customers, and make sure everybody is treated with respect and that everybody is safe in your space. Another thing I learned is that sometimes handling things in person is best. So I'm glad that I didn't just email them and say, you are completely banned forever. I'm glad that I presented the chance to have an in-person meeting. Some other customers that we've considered banning, we have had in-person meetings with them, and we've come to a great resolution. And I really love that. I really love that I was able to do that in those situations. I wish I was able to do it in this case, but I wasn't. But handling things in person as the owner is really, really important. And because even if somebody is having trouble or their child's going through a phase, and my child went through the biggest tantrum phase on the planet, I understand. All I wanted to know from these parents was that, we had a game plan for when this happened. Maybe I let them use the office to take a quiet second to calm down, or maybe they took a trip to the car, or maybe we gave them a free pass if their child was having a really hard day. We've come to really peaceful resolutions with a bunch of families who, kind of were problem families, but I'm really proud of the way, that I've been able to personally address each of these issues and come to a resolution again with these families. So sometimes as an owner, you're gonna have to handle these things in person. It's scary. I'm very non-confrontational. So it's probably my least favorite thing to do, but after it's done, I feel so much better, and I love, not only keeping, my best customers happy, but also retaining relationships with customers who, maybe felt like it wasn't a good fit, but, we came to a resolution. So that's another thing I learned. Another thing I learned is to always have evidence. So again, if I would have just let this go, then this person would have been able to deny. But as soon as I presented that we had several months of video evidence, they didn't really have any leg to stand on anymore. So always have evidence. Make sure you have cameras in your facility. Make sure your policies are documented and that you make every single customer sign them. Because a lot of times people just say, oh, I didn't see that rule. Oh, I didn't see that rule. But then when I say, oh, you signed this document that has the same rule on it, then it's pretty hard to argue with. So always have evidence, always have your policies printed in writing, hung on the wall, and also make customers sign it in your waiver. So waivers are not just about, avoiding lawsuits. Waivers are also about making sure customers understand and agree to your rules and policies. And the last thing that I want to share that I learned is that you should always protect your customers and your employees at all costs. So, this customer kind of presented themselves as a best customer, as a most important customer, because they were spending a lot of money, but really, I should have way earlier than I did. I should have remembered that, you know, my staff is most important, because if they're happy, everyone else is going to be happy. They're going to be able to provide the best service for our customers. And again, our best customers are people that respect our space, people that are kind to others, and again, people that just love being here, whose children play nice here, who step in if they need to, because Lord knows I know that no child is perfect. But again, so always protect your best customers and your employees at all costs. If there is a customer who is wreaking havoc, who is causing your staff or your employee morale to go down, or your customer morale to go down, you need to address it. It is up to you as the owner to make sure that you either come to a resolution and put it in writing, or that customer is fired from your facility. So that wraps up our story time, and I hope you liked this video. Please comment if you liked it. And again, this was not meant to put this family down at all. I'm sure they're very lovely, but not every space is right for every family. So please subscribe to my channel. I do a new video every single week, and I'm gonna try to get a lot more personal with you guys in the future. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.